What is happening, everyone? Danny Feng here, and in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my most recent camera purchase, which is the Sony FX30. So yeah, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you my long-term plans in terms of camera purchases and why I actually picked the FX30 over the FX3 and the FX6. So without further ado, let's get into the video. By the way, before we get into anything, what do you think of my new setup? I was literally just playing around in the studio and I ended up setting everything up, and I was just like, hey, this kind of looks cool. Might as well start shooting a couple of YouTube videos while we're at it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below on this setup. I don't know if the background is too blue. Maybe it's too blue. Maybe it's too like gamer kind of channel. I don't know. But yeah, you let me know. Anyway, so a little while ago, I pulled the plug and I basically switched to the Sony system. And the first Sony camera that I ever got was the Sony a7 IV. And after familiarizing myself with the Sony ecosystem, I decided that as my long-term plan is to have everything streamlined with Sony cameras. So it's very important to me that I have everything streamlined from shooting to post-production to delivering the content to my clients. Everything just has to be efficient and in the same time delivering high quality video content. And so having everything streamlined, especially with what camera that I shoot, it was very, very important to me. And in the end, I just decided to stick with Sony basically. So I've been shooting on the a7 IV, the Sony a7 IV for a little while, and I absolutely love that camera, and I always wanted to pair it with a second camera as well. So you know the saying, one is none, two is one. So doing video professionally, I always believe that you gotta have at least two cameras in your package. You know, if you just show up with one camera, if the one camera goes down, then you can't produce anything, you know, so it's always good to have two in your backpack. As I progress in my business and the stakes just get higher and higher every year, for me, I just feel safer if there is a backup camera in my backpack. Having said that, I don't see the FX30 as a B cam. It is just as much as an A cam, just as my Sony a7 IV. I love everything about the Sony FX30. It's just such an efficient camera. There was another big reason why I got the Sony FX30, but I know for a fact that the Sony a7 IV does overheat and freaks me out a little bit. And over the period of, I think, a year and a half-ish, I think it's overheated on me probably 3 times in total. So the first time it overheated and it completely shut down, which was kind of scary because I was actually on a client job. The other 2 times, it just had the little label thing that just said like, oh, your camera is really hot. But even though I have the setting set on the high temperature setting, it still showed that icon. But the second and third time it didn't shut down, because actually when I saw the icon, I just switched off the camera, waited for like 10 seconds or so, and then turned it on and it was gone and everything was back to normal. But knowing that it can overheat anytime was a little bit worrying for me. So that's why I started looking into the Sony FX series to get a second camera. And of course the FX30 and also the FX3 and the FX6, you know, they all have fans. So that means overheating is not really a thing. So this got me researching, you know, to see which Sony FX camera should I invest in. Now initially I wanted to invest in the FX6, but after doing a little bit of research, I came to the conclusion that camera is not really optimized for the work that I do. And so it was between the FX3 and then the FX6. There's plenty of videos out there already, you know, comparing the FX30 and FX3. So this video is not gonna be about that. I'm gonna be sharing with you a couple of highlights that were important for me and why I decided to go with the FX30 and the FX3. So number one is the price point. I mean, the price point between the FX30 and FX3 is quite dramatic, even though they're very, very similar cameras, and really the price tag is a bit more on the FX3s just because it's a full frame camera. And to me, I don't really care if a camera is full frame. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, I love, you know, shooting on full frame. The Sony a7 IV is a full frame camera and it's super gorgeous, you know. I mean, full frames are great, you know, you get a wider field of view, you can get the blurry background much easier. But for the work that I do and the results that I want to get, a Super 35 sensor is more than enough for me. So this is one of the reasons why I decided to go with the FX30. Okay, reason number 2. So most of the time I like to shoot as stripped down as possible. You know, if I can try to avoid rigging my camera, I would. So one of the most important things for me was having a very good LCD screen. So I got my notes over here. So the FX30's screen actually has a 2.36 million dots, as opposed to the FX3, which only has a 1.44 million dots. Having a very clear screen built on the camera is amazing, because that means I can check whether things are in focus or not. So yeah, that was the other reason why I decided to go with the FX30. Okay, so reason number 3. Both of the cameras can produce 4K videos, but the only difference is that the FX30 produces a 4K video that is downsampled from 6K, whereas the FX30 is just a native 4K video. Now, what does this mean? It just means that the FX30 actually will have a much much sharper image compared to the FX30. But personally, I don't think this was such like a big deal. But honestly, if the FX30 could shoot, 4K native, I would have been okay with that. It's just a plus that the 4K that is produced on the FX30 is a downsampled 6K, which is awesome. You get a sharper image. And also, if you shoot on the FX30 and you want to punch in on the video, you will still retain the video quality. On the other hand, if you shoot on the FX3 and you punch in, then the image will be slightly softer. So that's pretty much it. Other than these main reasons, there's a lot of little features on this camera that I really appreciate. So for example, the tally light, I can see the little red light that shows me that I'm recording. Behind it also has a tally light that shows that I'm recording. That's awesome to have. It's very rare that this happens, but there are times where I think I'm recording and then I call cut and then I cut the video and it starts recording and it just makes the beep sound and I'm just like, crap. Yeah, that happens sometimes. Not a lot, but it does happen. So having tally lights is awesome. So when you're recording, the red light pops up and it's very clear that you're actually recording. The record button is also on top as well, which is awesome. You have one on the side as well. So if you're holding the camera, you can hit record from the front, you can hit record from the top, which is awesome. I've also allocated the shutter button to also record as well. So there's many areas where I can hit record, which is super convenient. So with my FX30, I also bought the top handle as well. So the top handle is awesome. There's 2 XLR inputs. So if I want to get professional audio, I could do that as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. And yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you like this video and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all in the next video. And until then, keep on creating, keep on inspiring.